What's going on, y'all? We just wrapped up the first week of 2021. That happened pretty quickly, it feels like, right? So I'm actually here in beautiful Bacalar. If you haven't been, you should definitely come down. It's a quiet town, so Lake Town's not a lot to do, but if you're looking to relax, it is the place to be. I feel like 2020 was definitely a character builder. I think it was an opportunity for us to really see the things that we needed to heal. I feel like it revealed a lot to us. And there were some of us who embraced that, right? We embraced those revelations. And then there are some of us who sort of resisted a lot of that. You know, everyone's on different journeys. There's no judgment around that at all. Sometimes it takes us a little bit of time before we actually, before things actually sink in and start to make sense for us, before we actually connect the dots. 2020 was such a magnifying year. And truth be told, 2020 was also a game changer for a lot of folks. A lot of people thrived in 2020. A lot of people got the utmost clarity, right? And which allowed them to transition into 2021 with so much more clarity, so much more groundedness. And some people thrive spiritually, thrive financially. And so 2020 wasn't, in my mind, I don't see it as like a waste. You know what I mean? Like 2020 was an opportunity for us to see what wasn't working, to see the things that like really truly mattered to us and refocus. Essentially, 2020 uprooted us. It really, really did. It took us from all knowing to knowing nothing. And it made me think. So I'm doing this webinar, a free webinar on January 27th at 6:30 called Unblock and Thrive, the 5 core ingredients for change. And I was listening to a podcast the other day. You know, there's so many things around us that's always telling us or inspiring us or trying to influence us to change in a certain way, right? And I started listening to this webinar, I started listening to this podcast and I was saying how like change, we need to reframe how we look at that, right? Because is it really change or is it a return to self? And the two things I've always said to you guys, it's like the goal of life is to do two things, which is unlearn to relearn. So we have to unlearn all the conditioning that we've experienced. We have to unlearn all other people's beliefs, all other people's desires and wants and needs, everything that's been implanted in us so that we can get back to our core existence and to relearn how to be, right? Because I do believe that we have been given everything that we need to quote unquote succeed in this life. You know, however you define that. We have all the tools. It's just along the way we got disconnected from that. And so part of that whole process is to return to that core and to lead from that core existence, right? To make decisions from that core existence, to develop relationships from that core existence. I'm thinking about the webinar and I'm like, it's not really change. You know, there are some key elements that we can use to further deepen our connections with ourselves, but it's not really change because often when we think of change, we come from a place where we have to fix something. And so what I'm telling you is that there's nothing to fix. There is just a return to self. So you're not broken. Because when we come from that place like we're broken, we have to fix something, that carries a lot of weight and not positive weight, right? It's like this negative, heavy energy that's pulling you down. And you feel like there's something wrong with you. And there's nothing wrong with us, right? There are just the conditions of life that really altered our perceptions of ourselves that we need to tweak and redo, right? Essentially. And when we focus on those key elements, like I mentioned, we have an opportunity to shed a lot of that weight. And each time we shed, again, it's like peeling an onion, we shed and we come back to our core existence. So my message to you for this year, for 2021, is in what ways can you return to your core existence? In what ways can you reconnect to yourself? Some of it could have to do with like spiritual practices, finding more ways to get grounded, um, and doing more things, not only that things that feel good to you, feel genuinely good, but also things that don't feel so good. Because we can't always feel good all the time, right? There are things that make us uncomfortable, and that's where a lot of the growth happens. So it's kind of like finding that balance. Um, but also, the biggest thing that I've been thinking about too is like, how do we be with things as they are? This has been a big thing for me working with my students who they want everything to return to normal. Kids who like used to skip class and not be in school now want to be in school. They realize the benefits of being there. So the challenge has been this year is like, how do you be with things that are the way that they are? That's a challenge for a lot of kids, especially adolescent age. But it's a challenge for us as adults. Things will never get back to normal, and that's a beautiful thing. So my encouragement here is learn to be with things as they are. Let go of the things that you cannot control, and then make it a mission for yourself to return to your core existence. Yeah, that's my message to you guys. So, like I said, I'm doing a webinar, Unblock and Thrive. So, if you're feeling like there are things that are mentally, emotionally, or spiritually blocking you, those are the things that we're going to talk about in the webinar. And I'm also going to share some techniques that I use with my clients to help them unblock certain things so that they can start to take some action in their lives. Because one of the things that I realize is like, you know, I don't know what to do and I'm unclear about things. And sometimes I get that way too. When you're feeling unclear, if you can start to take action, the clarity will begin. The action always comes before the clarity. We often want it in reverse. So if you're feeling like you're not sure, then this webinar is for you. And I look forward to seeing you January 27th at 6:30 EST. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Talk to you guys soon.